Every time the charts bleed red, a specific type of hysteria takes over the internet. Investors treat a standard price correction as if the entire network has suffered a catastrophic failure. It is a fundamental error in perception. People are obsessively watching the scoreboard while completely ignoring the game itself. Here is the reality that the panic sellers miss. While the price might be down 20% today, the actual mechanical heartbeat of the system hasn't skipped a single beat. The network is totally oblivious to human sentiment, yet most people are paralyzed by it. The only cure for this financial anxiety isn't a bull market, it is mechanical competence. Today, we are going to look under the hood of the Bitcoin network to understand the singular process that guarantees its survival: mining. We will strip away the complex jargon and break down exactly how scarcity is enforced, how security is generated, and why this system is mathematically unkillable. Once you understand the physics of the network, you will never look at a drop in price with fear again. You will finally understand what you actually own. Before we even touch mining, we have to clear up the single biggest misunderstanding that trips up 90% of beginners. When you hear Bitcoin, you are actually hearing two different things at once, and if you don't separate them, nothing else makes sense. It isn't an app, a company in Silicon Valley, or a file in a cloud server. This specific confusion is exactly why people fail to grasp the true value proposition here. You need to visualize Bitcoin as a complete financial environment composed of two distinct elements working in unison. First, you have Bitcoin, capital B, the network itself, the global infrastructure. Second, you have BTC, the digital asset that travels inside it. Think of it this way: the network provides the rigid, unchangeable rules of the road, while the currency represents the vehicles driving on it. You simply cannot have one without the other. To make this concrete, imagine Bitcoin is a global operating system, similar to Android, but one that absolutely nobody owns. BTC is simply the native file type that lives within that operating system. There is only one network, but there are exactly 21 million files that can ever exist. This system functions like a massive, shared accounting book. Every page is a block of transactions, and this book is not hidden in a bank vault. It is public. This brings us to the most critical design choice. This ledger does not live on a central server owned by Amazon or a government. It lives on thousands of ordinary computers called nodes scattered across the globe. Each node keeps a full copy of the history and rigorously checks every rule. If a transaction breaks a rule, the node rejects it instantly. It doesn't matter who you are or how much money you have, the code is the only authority here. This decentralized structure is brilliant, but it creates a massive logical problem that stumped computer scientists for decades. If there is no central boss and thousands of strangers are running the network, who has the right to write the next page of the book? Who decides which transactions are real and which are fake? To answer that, we have to uncover the mechanism that keeps the system honest without a manager: the art of mining. In any traditional system, like your bank or a government, there is always a central referee. If there is a dispute about a transaction, the manager decides who is right. But Bitcoin was designed to operate in a hostile environment with zero trust. There is no help desk, no admin, and no undo button. This creates a massive dilemma. How do you get thousands of anonymous computers to agree on the same truth without a leader to guide them? This specific problem was considered impossible to solve for decades until Satoshi Nakamoto introduced a counterintuitive solution. Instead of appointing a leader, the system forces everyone to compete for the right to record transactions. But they don't compete with political influence or reputation. They compete by spending raw computing power. We call this proof of work, and it is the only way to anchor a digital system to physical reality. Think of energy as the only currency in the universe that cannot be counterfeited. You can print dollars, but you cannot fake the burning of electricity. If a miner wants to write the next page of the transaction book, they must prove they have done the heavy lifting. It is similar to a gold miner digging through tons of dirt to find a nugget. The effort is the proof that the value is real. You cannot simulate the sweat required to dig the hole. By demanding this energy expenditure, the network makes fraud economically suicidal. If a bad actor wants to rewrite history or fake a transaction, they would need to overpower the combined energy output of every other miner on Earth. It transforms security from a matter of trusting a person into a matter of physics and economics. The system assumes everyone is greedy and uses that greed to protect the ledger, ensuring honest behavior pays better. This brutal competition answers three critical questions simultaneously. Who creates the next block? How do we prevent cheating? And why would anyone volunteer their expensive hardware to do this? The answer lies in the incentive structure that drives the entire machine. Now that you understand the philosophical why, we need to look at the mechanical how. Let's break down the actual mechanism of this global mathematical lottery. There is a widespread myth that mining involves solving incredibly complex calculus equations that require a PhD to understand. Most people imagine a supercomputer contemplating a deep logic puzzle, but the reality is actually much cruder and far more secure. Mining isn't about intelligence or mathematical elegance. It is about pure, relentless repetition. It is a brute force attack against a cryptographic barrier that offers absolutely no shortcuts. The technical goal is to find a specific number, called a hash, that meets the network's strict criteria. There is no formula to calculate this number directly. The only way to find it is to guess. Miners run billions of random numbers through an algorithm every single second, hoping to get lucky. It is not about being smart. It is about how many guesses you can throw at the wall per second. The math is simple, but the volume is massive. Imagine you are holding a giant handful of dice and you have to roll them until every single one lands on the number 6. There is no skill involved, just the speed of your throw. Now, imagine doing that trillions of times a second. That is mining. It is a global race to find a winning ticket in a haystack the size of the internet. The moment a miner finds the solution, they broadcast it, and the rest of the network verifies it instantly. Because the difficulty is so high, the days of mining on a laptop are long gone. Today, the network is dominated by ASICs, machines designed for the sole purpose of guessing these numbers. These aren't normal computers. They are industrial appliances that turn electricity into security. This shift has turned mining into a global infrastructure war, where data centers compete to process these guesses faster and cheaper than their rivals. But you have to ask yourself, why would anyone build a warehouse full of loud, hot machines just to guess numbers? They aren't doing it for charity. They are doing it for the most valuable digital prize in existence. The system is designed to pay the workers who protect it, but the way it calculates that payment is strictly limited by code. This leads us to the monetary heartbeat of the system, the rewards and the legendary halving. You might be wondering, if this process requires industrial warehouses and millions of dollars in electricity, how is it financially sustainable? Nobody works for free, and miners certainly don't. The system is designed for mercenaries, not volunteers. To keep these machines running, the protocol issues a paycheck every 10 minutes. This is the block reward, a critical mix of newly minted Bitcoin and the transaction fees paid by users like us. But here is where Bitcoin separates itself from every other currency on Earth. A central bank can print money whenever politicians feel like it, slowly devaluing your savings. Bitcoin does the exact opposite. Every 4 years, the amount of new Bitcoin created is cut exactly in half. This is the halving. It is a non-negotiable monetary policy written in code that mathematically guarantees scarcity until the very last coin is mined around the year 2140. Now, imagine a game that automatically changes its rules based on how many people are playing. This is the difficulty adjustment. If thousands of new miners plug in, the network makes the puzzle harder to keep the rhythm at exactly 10 minutes. If the price crashes and miners unplug, the puzzle gets easier. It acts like a global digital thermostat, ensuring the system never overheats and never freezes, regardless of the chaos in the market. This mechanism is the specific reason why Bitcoin is practically indestructible. When the price drops 50%, the media predicts death. But mechanically, the network just shrugs. Inefficient miners turn off, the difficulty drops, and the survivors become more profitable. It is a biological response to stress. The price ignores the rules of logic, but the difficulty adjustment obeys the laws of physics, keeping the pulse alive forever. We have covered the engine, the fuel, and the economics, but even with this perfect design, there are still loud voices claiming the system is fundamentally flawed. They scream that it is controlled by a hidden elite or that it is destroying the environment. These are the two biggest lies in the industry, and to truly understand Bitcoin, we need to dismantle them with facts rather than headlines. Let's tackle the myths of centralization and energy. The most persistent attacks on Bitcoin focus on two scary concepts: centralization and pollution. Critics love to point at mining pools and claim a few corporate entities control the network, or they scream about energy consumption rivaling small nations. It is an easy narrative to sell because it sounds intuitively correct. If you only read headlines, you would believe Bitcoin is a dirty, corporate-controlled disaster. but surface-level cynics always miss the mechanical nuance. Let's kill the centralization myth first. Yes, miners group together in pools to smooth out their income, but the pool operator does not own the hardware. They are merely coordinators. The actual power remains with the individual miners. If a pool acts maliciously or tries to censor transactions, the miners can simply point their machines to a different pool in seconds. It is a direct democracy of computing power where the voters can switch parties instantly, stripping the leader of power. Now, the energy controversy. The narrative assumes that energy usage is inherently bad, but it ignores where that energy comes from. Bitcoin miners are profit-seeking machines, which means they hunt for the cheapest electricity on Earth, and the cheapest energy is always the energy that is currently being wasted. Bitcoin doesn't steal power from hospitals. It sets up shop next to isolated dams and oil fields where excess energy is literally being thrown away or burned off into the air. Think of the network as the world's first energy scavenger. It monetizes stranded power that cannot be transported to cities. In Texas, miners use flared gas that would otherwise just pollute the sky. In rural areas, they stabilize renewable grids by buying the surplus wind and solar that has nowhere else to go. Far from being an ecological villain, the network is actually financing new green infrastructure by acting as a reliable buyer of last resort for independent power plants. When you zoom out, the picture changes completely. We aren't looking at a wasteful, speculative bubble. We are looking at the most secure computer network in history, powered by the inefficiencies of the energy sector. The waste is the shield that protects your wealth. Now that you see the structure clearly, from the nodes to the miners to the energy source, you are ready to understand the final philosophy. The price is just noise. The machine is the signal. Let's bring this all home. If you have made it this far, your brain has likely shifted gears completely. At the start of this video, a red candle on a chart looked like a warning sign of failure. Now you see it for what it really is: irrelevant noise. You understand that while the price fluctuates based on human emotion, the mechanism of Bitcoin, the mining, the difficulty adjustment, the energy expenditure remains completely indifferent. You are no longer watching a casino. You are observing a clockwork financial fortress. This distinction is what separates the gamblers from the sovereign investors. The gamblers get washed out because they don't know what they are holding. But when you understand the structure, you stop reacting to the volatility and start appreciating the resilience. You realize that the energy spent isn't a cost. It is the price of admission for a system that cannot be censored, stopped, or debased by anyone. Knowledge is the only edge that never depreciates in a bear market. If this deep dive helped you see the signal through the noise, consider subscribing to the channel. We don't sell get-rich-quick fantasies here. We build foundational knowledge for the long game. And if you want to complete your understanding of this machine, you need to know what happens when the mining stops. Click the video appearing on your screen now to discover the end game of the 21 million limit. The machine is eternal, but the issuance is not. I will see you there.